Hi everyone, I'm here Anup Ranjan, as a 305 certified Microsoft professional. Here I'm going to talk about the topic Azure Express Route. Okay, so first of all, the question which you're going to face in our mind is that what is Azure Express Route? So, according to Microsoft, Express Route lets you extend your on-premises networks into the Microsoft cloud over a private connection with the help of a connectivity provider. With ExpressRoute, you can establish connection to Microsoft cloud services such as Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365. Okay, so the connectivity can be from an any to any, that is IPVPN network, or a point-to-point Ethernet network, or a virtual cross-net connection through a connectivity provider at a co-location facility. Express route connections don't go over the public internet. This allows express route connections to offer more reliability, faster speeds, consistent latencies, and higher security than typical connections over the internet. Okay, so for information on how to connect your network to Microsoft using Express Route, we can see this model. See this Express Route connectivity model in front of us in this slide. So, what are the key benefits of having a Express Route? We can see that we have several key benefits of having this. First, one of them is that layer 3 connectivity between your on-premises network and the Microsoft cloud through a connectivity provider. Okay, so connectivity can be from an any to any network, a point-to-point Ethernet network, or through virtual cross network or an Ethernet exchange. Okay, these are the key benefits which we already told you. See, also that the connectivity to Microsoft Cloud Services across all the regions in the geopolitical region. Okay, the global connectivity to Microsoft services across all regions with the Express Route premium add-on. This is also key benefits. So, dynamic routing between your network and the Microsoft via BGP. Built-in redundancy in every peering location for higher reliability. Okay, connection uptime. Okay, that's also a key benefit. And QoS support for Skype for business. Okay, features. Now we can discuss the features in detail. First feature, that is the layer 3 connectivity. Microsoft uses BGP, an industry standard dynamic routing protocol, to exchange routes between your on-premises network, your own instances in Azure, and Microsoft public address. We establish multiple BGP sessions in your network for different traffic profiles. More details can be found in the Express Route Circuit and Routing Domains article, which is a separate video which I will be uploading in future. So now, second feature of Express Route, redundancy. Each Express Route circuit consists of two connections to two Microsoft Enterprise Edge routers at an Express Route location. From the connectivity provider or your network edge, Microsoft requires dual BGP connections from the connectivity provider or your network edge. Okay, each one to each MSEE, that is. Okay, you may choose not to deploy redundant devices Ethernet circuits at your end. That is your choose. Okay. However, connectivity providers uses redundant devices to ensure that your connections are handed off to Microsoft in a redundant manner. So we can see this in the diagram also, that how the connectivity happens. The connectivity to Microsoft Cloud services. ExpressRoute connections enable access to the following services: Microsoft Azure services and Microsoft 365 services. Okay, point to be noted is that Microsoft 365 was created to be accessed securely and reliably via the internet. Because of this, we recommended ExpressRoute for specific scenarios. For example, information about using ExpressRoute to access Microsoft 365, we have an article, another video, which is explains the Azure ExpressRoute for Microsoft 365. We will provide that video later in the series. Okay, so these are the features we are going to discuss here. So the next feature is the connectivity to all regions within a geopolitical region. It means that when you connect to Microsoft from one to our peering location and access regions within the same geopolitical region, for example, if you connect to Microsoft in Amsterdam through ExpressRoute, you will have to access all of Microsoft Cloud services hosted in North or West Europe. Okay, for an overview of the geographical regions, the associated Microsoft Cloud regions and corresponding ExpressRoute peering locations, we have a details in our video later. So, global connectivity with ExpressRoute Premium. We can enable ExpressRoute Premium to extend connectivity across geopolitical boundaries. If we connect to Microsoft in Amsterdam through ExpressRoute, we will have access to all the Microsoft Cloud services hosted in every region across the globe. For example, if we have access to services deployed in West US or Australian East, the same way we access the North and West Europe regions, national cloud are excluded. Local connectivity with ExpressRoute Local. Okay, now this is the another key feature. We can transfer data cost effectively by enabling the local SKU. With local SKU, you can bring your data to an ExpressRoute location near the Azure region you want. Okay, with local, data transfer is included in the ExpressRoute port charge. Now, the next feature, across on-premises connectivity with ExpressRoute global reach. And with this feature, we can enable the ExpressRoute global reach to exchange data across your on-premises sites by connecting your ExpressRoute circuits. For example, if you have private data center in California connected to an ExpressRoute circuit in Silicon Valley and another private data center in Texas connected to an ExpressRoute circuit in Dallas. With ExpressRoute Global Reach, we can connect your private data center together through these two ExpressRoute circuits. Now, the other key feature, rich connectivity partner ecosystem. So, the ExpressRoute has a constantly growing ecosystem of connectivity providers and system integrator partners. Okay, connectivity to national clouds. See, the Microsoft operates isolated cloud environments for special geopolitical regions and customer segments also. For the list of the national cloud providers, we can see the later videos what is the ExpressRoute partners and the peering locations. Now, ExpressRoute Direct is also the key feature in which we can see that the ExpressRoute Direct provides customers the opportunity to connect directly into the Microsoft global network at peering location strategically distributed across the world. The ExpressRoute Direct provides dual 100 Gbps connectivity, which supports the active connectivity at scale. So the key features that ExpressRoute Direct provides include, but aren't limited to, massive data ingestions into services like Azure Storage and Azure Cosmos DB, physical isolation of industries that are regulated and require dedicated and isolated connectivity, for example, bank, government, and retails. The third point, the granular control of circuit distribution based on business unit. So these were some of the key features. So now we are going to see, we will continue with the introduction of ExpressRoute, and we should try to understand what is Azure ExpressRoute. So in this diagram which you are seeing in the last few minutes, here we have to try to explain is that Azure ExpressRoute allows an organization like Adagem to connect their on-premises network directly into the Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365 clouds. Azure ExpressRoute uses a dedicated high bandwidth connection provided by the Microsoft partner. We can see in this diagram already mentioned that this dedicated high bandwidth connection doesn't pass across the public internet in the manner that a VPN connection to Azure does. The connection comes with the dedicated service level agreement that ensures uptime and the bandwidth are always available. Okay, now Microsoft guarantees a minimum of 99.95% availability for express route dedicated connections. That is a big thing. We can see that because the connection is private and travels only between the on-premises network and the Azure over a dedicated line. Traffic can't be intercepted by third parties as it crosses the public internet. This is the main feature, what is why we use Azure ExpressRoute. Now, ExpressRoute provides direct access between on-premises network and the following services also. For example, Azure Compute Services, IaaS, Azure Virtual Machines, Azure Kubernetes Services. Now, as we already know that Azure Virtual Machines and Azure Kubernetes Services, AKS, and Azure Cloud Services in the sense of having Azure Files, Azure Storage, Azure SQL Server. Okay. Also, we have Microsoft Office 365 and Microsoft Dynamic 365. So what is this? All these things, Azure Route provides the direct access between the on-premises networks which you are following the following services which I just mentioned. Okay. Now, what's the meaning of here is that Express Route Global Reach. Okay. The Express Route Global Reach allows organizations with multiple on-premises locations connected to Azure Express Route to route traffic between those on-premises locations across the Azure Global Network backbone. Just for example, if Aditum has an on-premises location in Sydney, okay, connected to the Express Route, and an on-premises location is London, connected to express route, traffic between the host on the Sydney and the London network could be configured to pass across those express route connections, and though the Azure global network backbone rather than via another path. Getting my point? So now we're going to discuss about the express route connectivity models in the next slide. Okay, the Azure Express Route supports three models for connecting on-premises network to Microsoft clouds. What are these? Point-to-point Ethernet connection, cloud exchange colocation, any-to-any IP VPN connection, and direct model. Okay, now cloud exchange colocation. Cloud exchange colocation, here we want to explain that by figure only we can see that what we can say is that the co-located providers supply layer 2 layer 3 connection between the infrastructure at the co-location facility and the Microsoft cloud. For example, if your organization has server hosted at the co-location facility, co-location at the cloud exchange allows you to connect from the facility to Microsoft Cloud. Getting my point? Yes, correct. Now, point-to-point Ethernet connection. This connectivity model provides direct layer 2 and layer 3 connectivity between an organization on-premises network and Microsoft Cloud. Here the two connectivity points are an organization on-premises network and second one is the Microsoft Cloud. For example, if Editum okay implemented this model, any host connected to your on-premises network that interacts with the Azure resource such as the IaaS virtual machine or an Azure file share should have the network traffic for that interaction travel across the express, express route connection. Now, the third model, any to any IP VPN connection. So in this model, what happens? We can see that you can integrate your organization wide area network. It's not a local area network or middle area network, or it's a wide area network. So okay, connection with as Microsoft Azure. The express route connection to Microsoft Cloud will function as another location on your organization private to wide area network. Okay, now express route site having a direct model. It's also a feature in itself, a big thing that you can see that you can connect directly a Microsoft peering location rather than connecting through a service provider who connects you through the Microsoft Cloud. Here, the express route directly provides the dual 100 Gbps or 10 Gbps connectivity. Okay, so these were the connectivity model. So we can just discuss about some security part of it. How much secure is this express route? Here we can go. Express route security. Express route uses a private connection between your own premises network and the Microsoft Cloud, due to which VPN connections travel across the public internet. So it's possible, if unlikely, that traffic can be captured as it passes through the internet. Some jurisdictions requires that certain type of data never transits the public internet. So choosing express route is the matter of compliance than simple technical necessity. You can note one point here also that even if an express route connection is used, DNS queries, certificate revocation, list checking, and request to the Azure Content Delivery Network CDN will still be sent across the public network. So this is just a thing which we can see that this also happens with the express route also. So now in the next slide we are going to explain you how express route works. Getting my point? So please be attentive and try to understand what I'm going to tell you and explain you in the next slide. See, this is the figure that express route high availability and failover, whatever we can try to understand with this diagram. Okay, now how Azure Express Route work? Azure Express Route allows you to extend your on-premises network into a Microsoft Cloud through a private connection. Here we are saying that your on-premises network and Microsoft Cloud through a private connection. We are extending our on-premises network to the Microsoft Cloud by using the express route. Now to implement express route, what you will do? You need to work with an express route partner who will provide an edge service. Okay, this edge service is an authorized and authenticated connection to Microsoft Cloud that functions through a partner controlled router. Okay, the partner configures the connection to the endpoint in the express route location. You can see that inside this. Okay, these locations let you peer on premises network with the Azure virtual network available through the endpoints. The term of these express route connections is circuit. So what we are going to discuss in this image for this image was express route high availability and failover. So we have this figure which is explaining here the peering scheme. We can use two different peering schemes with ExpressRoute, that is the private peering and Microsoft peering. Okay, now the private peering means here that private peering allows us to connect on-premises host with Azure IaaS and PaaS services as and PaaS services configured to do work with Azure Virtual Network. All resources must be located in Azure Virtual Network and allocated IP addresses in a private address space that doesn't overlap with your on-premises address space. You can't connect to an Azure Resources public IP address, such as ISVM public IP address through private peering. Okay, so this is the fact about the private peering. Now for the Microsoft peering allows you to connect over ExpressRoute with Azure PaaS services, Microsoft 365 and Dynamics 365. If using Microsoft peering and you want to have resources in Azure Connect to host on premises, you will need to reserve an additional IP address block. Okay, so here what you are going to explain the customer premises and how the customer premises uh, is connected with the help of the internet to the Microsoft Cloud. So what is happening in the Microsoft peering and what is happening in the Azure private peering, how it works in this diagram. So what happens if you have express route high availability and failover? So if we want to discuss about this topic, we can see that express route circuit has two connections from the connectivity providers to separate edge routers at Microsoft. This provides express route availability for a single location. If you want a higher degree of availability, you can configure express route circuit in different pairing locations. This will protect your express route connection from regional outages. Another option is to have multiple express route circuits configured through different providers. So that one provider suffers an outage, you fail over a second provider. So a small question, by if you want to know and tell me how many express route you can have from a single subscription of Azure, means in a single organization, single Azure account, how many express route you can have maximum? Can you tell me the answer? Those who are thinking five, they are wrong. Those who are thinking as much as we can, they're also wrong. But those who are thinking maximum express route connections we can have is 10, they are definitely right. So now, in the next slide, we're going to see that when to use express route and when to not to use Azure when not to use Azure VPN gateway. So there are some points which we can discuss here only. Okay, the express routes, when to use the Azure express route. Where is the is need is there to use the Azure express route. Okay, the Azure express route means, for example, to take a simple example which you're taking here, Alentum. So express Azure express route meets Alentum needs for the following reason. Express route, see what it provides: a low latency connection to resources in the Azure cloud. That is the point. On-premises client at Adentum can use ISVMs that performs video processing tasks without concerns around variable latency. Provides a high bandwidth connections to resources to in the Azure cloud. The high bandwidth Azure Express route provides will assist Adentum with workloads such as transferring videos from Azure file share. Okay, we have the Azure file share, and these transfers might take significantly longer if Agentum continued to use it as existing site-to-site VPN connection. Get my point? Now, it also provides a guaranteed availability to resources in the Azure cloud. Microsoft guarantees a minimum of 99.95% availability for ExpressRoute dedicated connection, which means that if Edentum adopt ExpressRoute connectivity, disruptions that occurs when sending traffic over the public internet won't affect day-to-day operation. Okay, now it also provides a secure connection to the Azure resources, where Adentum clients such as those that use drone imagery when establishing mineral claims prefer their data be transferred using private connections rather than VPN connections over the internet. Now, the other fact which will be going in your mind is that when not to use Azure VPN gateway. So, we can say here that not all customer location requires dedicated connections to Azure data centers. For example, a smaller branch offices can often use site-to-site VPN connections to route traffic between on-premises hosts and Azure, because small sites are less likely to require persistent high bandwidth connections. Okay? Now, an organization with remote individual users such as those working from home or those who regularly travel with a laptop computer can use Azure point to site VPN to connect to Azure resources. A point to site VPN is a VPN connection that established from an individual computer to Azure. Okay, so in the next part we will just have a look that what is the correct answers of some question which we are going to discuss. So I'm going to just throwing some questions in front of you, and just I want the comment of the answers of these questions by telling you the questions 1A, B or C answer, or 2A, B or C as an answer, 3A, B or C as an answer in the comment box of this video. You can just give it. Then by my listening my this video, we will be able to answer this question correctly, and more likes for these videos I would prefer. So these are the questions here. I know I don't have to read out these questions. I think it's in front of you. Take a look and just write in the comments your answers. This is all about what we have discussed in this video. uh, it will be a great honor for me if you like this video, and subscribe to the channel for more interesting videos on Azure cloud. Okay, thanks for your likes.